On the first day of every week, each of you should set something aside.
Donate certificates of deposit, stocks and bonds, as well as real estate. Transfer funds directly to the branch office, trust, life insurance policy, or retirement plan. Have our donation transferred electronically right from our bank account.
Set something aside each month.
Set something aside every week of your bank. Set up a direct donation.
Donate online directly from our account.
Recurring online donations.
Give assets at our death through a will. Recurring donations every month.
Hello everyone, this is the Facts on JW channel. Thank you for joining our channel today. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment and share, and stay tuned for the entire video. I want to share with you the latest and greatest things we have heard, which is governing body update number 5, which everyone is talking about. I believe there's a lot of more ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that know about this than even the current Jehovah's Witnesses, because it's on their website. So if you don't go and pay attention to that, you may not notice. But it's all about higher education. And we all know, for those of us who have been involved with Jehovah's Witnesses for many years, many of us grew up in it and have several generations of Jehovah's Witnesses. And for the beginning of their religion, they have said higher education, as in university, was satanic in a way. Like, you are kind of going off and veering off into the devil's territory if you end up going to the university. They never talked against community college, really, but definitely university. And that this system is ending soon. So what do you need to go to college for? You can learn everything you need to know now, because what we're going to need to do in paradise will be useful to us. So we'll be building houses. We're not going to need doctors and lawyers in paradise. So why bother doing that? So that's the kind of stuff they would lead you to follow. And in the end, you gave up. You gave up your career or your potential career. Maybe that was something you really wanted to do. But they have to tell you, you must choose between what you want to do and following Jehovah. Why can't you do both? Why can't you serve God and go and do what you would like to do with your career? So let's watch and see what Mr. Splain has to say about higher education. So let's hear from governing body Splain to see what he says about higher education.
Although we all can benefit from this information, many young people are asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? Of course, the best career is a life in full-time service. Even so, full-time servants need to support themselves financially. In some places, it's possible to earn a decent living without getting further education. In other lands, additional education is required if you hope to find employment that has reasonable hours and that pays fairly well. In such cases, a brother or sister may wonder, should I get additional education? If so, what type? Now, what do we mean by additional education? This refers to any secular education or training beyond the basic education provided by the government. Is it appropriate for Christians to pursue additional education? With this update, we'd like to clarify our understanding. While there are dangers involved in pursuing certain forms of education, basically, whether to obtain additional education or not is a matter for personal decision. Each adult must make his or her own decision on whether to obtain additional education. How can we make good decisions when considering additional education? Each adult Christian, and in the case of minor children, each family head, should prayerfully consider Bible principles and the unique factors involved with a certain educational program before making the decision. And while an elder or a mature friend may discuss with us the pros and cons about obtaining additional education, no Christian, including the elders, should judge a fellow Christian's personal decision on this matter.
Excuse me. Well, that's what you always had them doing, is judging us for whether or not we decided to go to college, and now you change your mind. How convenient to ruin people's lives for all these years and say, whoops, well, we made a mistake and now it's up to you. But make sure that you make a wise choice. And but it's up to you. But it's not really up to you, but it is up to you. It's so annoying. Next, let's hear from a story from, it's just Elder's Secret video that was done in 2023, and they were deciding whether or not Brother Brown was allowed to continue being an elder. And their problem with him was his daughters were pursuing higher education. So let's watch the video.
I asked you brothers to review his qualifications as an elder. After we spoke, and Brother Brown had an opportunity to explain to me some of the decisions that he's made for his family. I'm aware that you brothers have considered this matter before, but since then, another one of Brother Brown's daughters have enrolled in a school for higher education, which raises questions as to how this affects the congregation. When we make decisions, it's important that we consider the conscience of the congregation as well as the elder body.
Brothers, with all due respect, I don't agree with you that the congregation is disturbed about my or my family's situation. I've been in the congregation for 20 years. I know the publishers very well, and I'm sure no one is disturbed about my daughters pursuing higher education. And no one has approached me expressing that they're disturbed about me supporting my daughters seeking higher education, trying to better themselves. It's not like they're leaving the truth.
Brother Brown, it is true. Some of the congregation have been negatively affected. They've been disturbed by the example of your daughters pursuing higher education. You've openly talked about wanting the best life for your daughters. And this has given some the impression that the only way to get the best life, it's not through spiritual things, but through secular pursuits. Some of the congregation are even confused about what the organization has stated regarding pursuing higher education. In fact, Sister Single's daughter is considering pursuing higher education because of the example of your daughters.
And just because the brothers and sisters have not approached you about this matter doesn't mean that they're not disturbed by what they see. They understand that it's a personal decision and that's something that you have to decide, but it still doesn't mean that your freeness of speech is not affected. In fact, the freeness of speech of the entire body of elders, as well as how successful we are as shepherds, has been affected as well.
Well, there you have it. I would imagine a lot of people in the congregation would be confused with the organization's policy on higher education. If they were confused on it then, they've got to be really confused on it by now, because it's constantly flip-flopping, even though they have for many years always said higher education is bad. But now it's okay. It's up to you. Elders should not be judging you. Yet they do. And yet they were supposed to. As you can see in this video, they were supposed to judge you for your family, in this case, his daughters who lived at home, getting higher education. What does that say about the organization and their policies? And let's not forget about good old Tony and his view on materialism, which to them, higher education equals materialism. Until now. But let's listen to what he has to say. He's old school Tony, and that's why he's no longer there. Let's listen to what he has to say.
In the world, they have this thinking about, well, you need a certain amount of money to retire, and they're constantly focused on material things, not Jesus, see. Superior peace from Jehovah God. So it's only temporary anyway, the material benefits that people seek and pursue throughout their lives. Now, we can enjoy true contentment because Jehovah God's going to care for us. We know that. Many have personal experiences to prove that.
Well, there you have it. You can see what Tony's view is on higher education. He thinks that if you go to college, that would make you materialistic and that you're not relying on Jehovah God. But that isn't true. You can rely on God and have an education. What's wrong with that? Let's take a look at a little bit of brief clips on the last convention. I know you've seen this all, but I want to share with you just a few little clips that shows how these people have been giving up, even now, their higher education for Watchtower, yet now we have this governing body update. So I'm not really sure how this is relevant anymore. It'll be interesting to see what the witnesses think.
I was offered after high school the opportunity to attend a prestigious university for no cost. But Jehovah invites you to rely on Him, not to rely on yourself.
So he gave up an opportunity to go to college, paid for free, because he said you had to rely on Jehovah. Like I said before, why can't you rely on Jehovah and go to college? You can do both.
I realized that the job I'd originally taken was not providing what I needed anymore. A change was necessary. So another opportunity came up to pursue higher education. While I was considering my options, a friend recommended a job that required a little bit of vocational training, but would pay to cover my expenses.
So he thinks that getting a little bit of education is going to help him be happy because he's serving Jehovah and he is committing his whole life to serving Jehovah. There's nothing wrong with serving God, but God doesn't ask you to give up your dreams of going to college and maybe getting a career in something that you enjoy. So now let's see the next video on our African brother who gave up also the opportunity to go to university.
In the country where I grew up, a common goal was to go to university, to get a good job and look after your parents. It was a difficult dilemma. I decided to enter the full-time service and not to go to university. I chose to follow a technical course that would give me the practical aptitudes that could help me to find a job. At first, my family wasn't pleased with my decision. Even people in the congregation tried to change my mind.
And I know you've already seen this scene before, but I just want to share with you. Think about what the supposed spiritually weak Jehovah's Witnesses are encouraging this young man to do.
So, Aiden, what you been up to lately?
Well, I'm about to graduate soon.
That's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't wait. And, I'm thinking about applying to Bethel.
Okay, Bethel. All right, really?
Yeah, I've been wanting to do it since I was a kid.
Okay. Bethel's nice, but you got to think about your future.
Yeah.
How will you support yourself, or how would you support a wife after Bethel?
Exactly.
You can still serve Jehovah right here.
That's true.
I know. I get it. When I was your age, they told me the end could come tomorrow, too.
Yeah.
But look at us. We have a real comfortable life.
And we're still witnesses, Aiden. You're so young and smart. There's so many opportunities open to you right now. It's nice that you have spiritual goals, truly. But you also need to be realistic.
He's being realistic.
Exactly. I have to agree with her. You have to be realistic. What are you going to do whenever you leave Bethel and you don't have any skills? So this is the thing that's so aggravating, is they want you to sacrifice everything for Watchtower, but at the same time they double talk and tell you to go get higher education now because they need your money. For decades, Jehovah's Witnesses were advised against pursuing a higher education, with Watchtower providing regular warnings that attending university is an improper use of time in the last days. The outcome of these warnings is that Jehovah's Witnesses have amongst the lowest average education and income levels of any religion in the United States, according to the U.S. Religious Landscape Survey in 2008. So, thanks to JW Facts that providing for this information, we have the information that we need to find out what the Jehovah's Witnesses and higher education university thinking is all about. So according to, if we scroll down, we will see here what Watchtower's view has been about university. They believe, and have believed, that it is a waste of precious time in the last days. It promotes prestige and materialism, shows a lack of faith, involves bad association, and promotes higher learning. Okay, I don't know why that's bad. And what they say here in Watchtower 2008, what will be the end afterward? Young people are often exposed to temptations and pressures to experiment with things that seem popular. Here are some scenarios, and they do mention things that wouldn't be good, like smoking cigarettes are unhealthy for you, but it says here, a well-intentioned teacher urges you to pursue higher education at a university. How is that bad? Let's not forget that Watchtower has always said the end is coming. Let's see what the Watchtower of 1969 has to say about higher education. And it says here in the Watchtower of 1969, the influence and spirit of this world is to get ahead, to make a name for oneself. Many schools now have student counselors who encourage one to pursue higher education after high school, to pursue a career with a future in this system of things. Do not be influenced by them. Do not let them brainwash you with the devil's propaganda to get ahead, to make something of yourself in this world. Wow. They even had the audacity to use the word brainwash, which is funny because that's what they do. And comparing university education to the devil's propaganda, which is insane. Not to mention another article in the Awake of 1969, May 22nd, it mentions what future for the youth. Of course, I do have a copy of this, but it's interesting to see what they say about the future for the young ones. Here it says, if you are a young person, you also need to face the fact that you will never grow old in this present system of things. Why not? Because all the evidence and fulfillment of Bible prophecy indicates that this corrupt system is due to end in a few years. Of course, this was before 1975, so that must be what they were leading up to. Of the generation that observed the beginning of the last days in 1914, Jesus foretold, this generation will by no means pass away until all these things occur. So you see here, they have already discouraged higher education because you don't need it. The end is coming. What do you need that for? And then let's also see what the Kingdom Ministry of the year 1999, so it wasn't that long ago, where they were still discouraging college. And the Kingdom Ministry says here, are you mainly interested in seeking financial advantage, or do you really want to use your life to advance kingdom interests? A university degree does not guarantee success in the job market. As an alternative, many have acquired marketable job skills by means of apprenticeship programs and technical school. Okay. And yes, that is true. You can, sometimes people do choose a college degree that is not what they end up doing. But that's not the point here. The point is, don't discourage higher education, because that's what they do. They discourage it, so then you end up doing, a lot of times, how many Jehovah's Witnesses do you know end up window washing, housekeeping, maybe landscaping, doing things that they can work for themselves so that they can end up like pioneering and things like that, but they don't end up getting any kind of education. But I did know personally some that did go to college and went to university, but again, it was highly discouraged. And a lot of times the elders might have had to talk to you about that. Like, well, you shouldn't do that. I remember a situation where there was someone in our congregation when I was a teenager, and one of the sons went to college, went to university, and the parents were reprimanded about it, and so he ended up going on and getting an education anyways, but they went against counsel. At the same time, Watchtower, while telling the members not to get higher education over the years, are hypocrites. They have decided over the years to pay for some branch members to get degrees. As it says here on the JW Facts website, Watchtower has never held back from making long-term commitments and plans for education and expansion. While in the Australian Bethel branch in the 1990s, Watchtower paid for former Circuit Overseer Vincent Toole to obtain a university law degree so he could act as their legal counsel. Watchtower's billions of dollars worth of property globally are part of an ongoing building program. In 2013, a $10 million assembly hall was completed at Orangeburg, and then on July 2013, Watchtower commenced construction of a new global headquarters at Warwick. The campus of building 45 acres spans 45 acres and includes 588 rooms with capacity for 1,000 residents. It is hypocritical for the leaders to make long-term plans but insist the followers keep a short-term focus. Not to mention, they also have recently decided to spend a lot of money to build Ramapo, which is where they're going to have their audio-visual effects studio. Lots and lots of money, millions of dollars spent on that. But yet, the members are to be cautious of materialism, and you know, if their view of materialism is like, you need to live in poverty, otherwise you're considered materialistic if you have too many things. But not for the leaders and those who they want to pay for law school, because it benefits them in the end. And then let's not forget about experiences that they love to share, which sometimes I am not sure if they're even true stories, but for the sake of speaking about this, let's just read what Watchtower 2019 says about someone who, where university is described as so intensive that students have little to no time for the relationship with Jehovah. One person admits, studying for my course took so much time and effort that I was too busy to linger in prayer to Jehovah the way I used to, too exhausted to enjoy Bible discussions with others, and too tired to prepare well for the meetings. Thankfully, once I realized that being immersed in higher education was damaging my relationship with Jehovah, I knew I had to stop, and I did. This is 2019, so this is fairly recent. But this story is just simply untrue, or this situation is not true, because university does not take up more time than school or career. For students that do struggle with the study load, there is the option of taking a degree part-time. And so And that is so true. So in other words, you do not have to sacrifice your relationship with Jehovah just to go to school. Also, we have another article in Watchtower 2011 about higher education. Here it states, in higher education, Jesus warned against seeking your own glory. Whatever you decide as to how much secular education you will obtain, have you made sure of the more important things? And then they give the example of this man who was a computer programmer and made some changes in his life and said, taking seriously the advice of the elders, I simplified my life. I realized that I did not need to further my secular education. That would only rob me of time and energy. And then he got more involved in congregation activities. And then he went to the Bible school for single brothers and bought out the time to further his divine education. Yes, because ultimately, what they want is for you to sacrifice everything for Watchtower. Watchtower is also concerned that with higher education, it would lead you to be filled with human philosophy and whether or not God exists. But I beg to differ on that. And yes, even though higher education does allow you to be around different points of view, but what they don't want is for you to use your own critical thinking skills. And that's why they have always preached against going to higher education, because they do not want you to start thinking for yourself. They want you to be in this little bubble, be brainwashed. The whole reason why meetings are question and answer is because it is a brainwashing technique that will keep you mindless and not using your brain. But possibly when you go and get higher education, some people do wake up, and that's what they don't want. But now, what's the real reason why they are allowing the higher education? Well, I will tell you the reason. The reason is because they are grasping at straws because they are losing so many members. Ever since the Australian Royal Commission came out, their CSA problems, and then the age of the internet has been their undoing. They are grasping at straws and losing members left and right that they are trying to lighten up a little bit. They have had so many changes in 1 year, literally 1 year. Within 1 year, they have been able to allow people to, the men can have beards. They don't have to wear a suit and tie unless they're going up on stage to give a part. They do have to wear like a button down and nice slacks, but not a tie or a jacket. The women can wear nice pants, and that was always unheard of. And then the other thing is, of course, we know about toasting now, which is really crazy. I don't think many witnesses, especially the older ones, are comfortable with that. And then you don't have to count time. You just have to go out in field service and say at least once a month and be like, yep, I did that. Unless you're a regular pioneer or auxiliary pioneer, then you do have to count the time. And then now, higher education is okay. Oh, don't let me forget as well. The disfellowshipped ones are now called removed. And you can go up to them if they come to the Kingdom Hall and say, hello, we're so glad you are here. And then walk away. Because you can't continue a conversation, but you can say hello. So these are all lots of changes within literally 1 year. What's next, Watchtower? And the only reason is because they have been sued so much and they're grasping at straws to keep their members. Here we have another couple of people who back in the 90s were sharing their experiences of what it was like to have a great career. First, we have Levi, who decides that he is a football player and ends up becoming a really successful one, but turns it down because he knew that if he remained a football player, he would lose his relationship with Jehovah, and says he can't choose both. But I beg to differ on that. There's no reason why you can't have a relationship with God and also pursue your careers. Then we have the other lady who is an opera singer who gets baptized and decides that, you know what, I'm feeling guilty about being an opera singer. Go figure on that one, because you know Jehovah's Witness organization likes to make you feel guilty about making money and again making you feel like you are not going to be able to serve God if you pursue anything that's for yourself. But what is wrong with pursuing things that benefit you at the same time serving God? You can do both. And we do have the ability to think for ourselves, to make proper decisions. And this is what Watchtower doesn't think that we are capable of doing. They don't think that we can follow moral guidelines that the Bible lays out for us. They think that we can't do that. But guess what? We are able to.
It was on the front page of the newspaper, Levi decides to carry a Bible instead of a football.
I began regular pioneering, and of course my life changed, and I found great fulfillment in my pioneering. It was also during that time that I met my future husband, and he was a Bethelite for many years. So I've been at Bethel 5 years now.
Right now, presently, I'm a firefighter.
I work as a housekeeper, and it's not a glamorous work, but working at Bethel is really not about the work you do. Being at Bethel is about being in a spiritual environment, helping your brothers, and there are some tremendous benefits of being at Bethel. I love morning worship.
I miss, don't get me wrong, I see constantly in the paper these gentlemen I played sports with signing $4.5 million contracts, $8.9 million contracts. So you look back at those things, but at the same time, the things I've gained, they outweigh anything that I possibly could have had in the past. The friendship, the organization, the brotherhood, you can't replace those.
Sometimes I see people I went to Juilliard with, I see their names in the newspaper, or I hear about them on the radio, the wonderful things they've done with their careers, and I'm happy for them, I really am, because I know that that's all they know.
They want to use you. They want to get all they can out of you. You're like a disposable cup. They use you, and they throw you away.
Interesting that he says they want to use you, they want to get all they can out of you. You're like a disposable cup. They use you and they throw you away. So what's the difference there? Watchtower does that as well. You can be a pioneer, you can sacrifice years and years and years of service to the organization, elder, ministerial servant, regular pioneer, even circuit overseers, and yet, boom, as soon as you no longer believe, they throw you away like you don't matter anymore.
What have we considered? Deciding whether or not to pursue additional education is a personal matter. But remember, additional education can have spiritual risks. How can you make a wise decision? Rely on Bible principles. Prayerfully analyze your motives and the type of education involved. If you're a young person, discuss the available options with your parents. If you decide to pursue additional education, what can help you to remain spiritually strong? Keep a good spiritual routine. Protect your thinking. Always remember your goal. Your goal is not to achieve worldly success, but to bring glory to Jehovah. Brothers and sisters, please know that we love you all very much. From the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses, this is JW Broadcasting.
They tell you it's a personal choice and that we should not be judging other Christians in the congregation, whether or not they choose to go to university. But yet, that's all they ever said all along. In fact, we have elders' videos to prove that They were counseled. People have been counseled and deemed bad association for the congregation. It's really quite sad how they treat people. So the real reason why they are allowing higher education is because they want your money. They are needing your money desperately. They're even asking for the publishers to start doing an auto draft out of their account every month, so that way they know that if you just do that automatically, then you don't have to think about it and they will get your money automatically. And they have lost a lot of members over the last few years to hopefully keep the members in, but it's unlikely going to work. I want to thank all of our YouTube members who are current members, and also our Patreon members. If you would like to join Patreon or also join our YouTube membership, feel free to do that and look in the description. You will find the links for that. Thank you for supporting our channel. If you want to know more about where your money is going, take a look at this video here in the latest August JW broadcasting. And remember, always use your critical thinking skills when making decisions. Have a great day, and we will see you again soon.